The following is a fan-based opinion piece. My Little Pony: Friendship is Magic is owned by Laura Faust, Hasbro Studios, Hasbro Inc., DHX Media, and The Hub. Please support the official release.
But Fluttershy, you have a wonderful talent dealing with all kinds of animals.
That has nothing to do with it, Twilight.
Yes, because they're not dragons.
Exactly.
Oh, come on! We've seen you walk right up to a horrible manticore like it was nothing.
Because it was nothing. To her.
Yes, because he wasn't a dragon.
You tell him, Fluttershy.
Spike is a dragon. You're not scared of him.
Wait a minute, that's a good point.
Over the misty mountains cold, to dungeons deep and caverns old, we must away ere break of day to find our long forgotten gold.
So this video is going to be about the difference between fear and phobia, and specifically how that relates to Fluttershy's fear of dragons. I want to say off the bat that I am not an expert. I'm not a psychology major. I'm not a psychologist. I don't know anything about what I'm talking about. If you want an expert's point of view, go to your own psychiatrist. But I myself am just making observations that I have seen in my life and have little to no research behind it. So I can completely relate with Fluttershy here. I myself am a pre-vet major, and I love all animals, but I am also ophidiophobic. If you don't know what that means, let's just say that it looks like Twilight Sparkle and definitely Indiana Jones share my phobia. So I know exactly where she's coming from, but because of that, I actually find her fear very hard to swallow. I mean, I can understand not being quite as afraid of a chibi version of the thing you're afraid of as the adult, but there's not being quite as afraid of it, and then there's
A baby dragon!
I mean, from my perspective, I can kind of understand not quite being as afraid of a baby rattlesnake as an adult, which is actually kind of stupid because a baby rattlesnake actually has more venom per capita than an adult, but it's still not going to be.
I've never seen a baby dragon before. He's so cute.
But there's one part especially that annoys me and makes it very evident that this is a fear and not a phobia.
Well.
Oh my, he talks. I didn't know dragons could talk.
Really? You didn't know dragons could talk? You're the animal expert and you didn't know dragons can talk? I know that dragons can talk because they've been able to talk in damn near every media I've seen. How do you not know? And that just blows up the idea that she's only afraid of it because she doesn't know anything about it. So it's fear via ignorance that seems to be the root of her fear of dragons. At this point, I think I should explain where I'm coming from. The thing is that I have no other irrational fears other than my fear of snakes. To be fair, I know it's irrational. I know that most snakes are not dangerous. I know that a lot of them are sweet in their own way, but I don't have a choice in the matter. It's a physical reaction. And I'll go into a little bit of that later, but I, like any other kid, you see Jaws for the first time and suddenly you're scared of going to the deep side of the pool. And then you think, well, you know what? A great white couldn't fit in this pool at all, let alone in the small section of the deep side of the pool I can't see. So it just suddenly became a non-issue, and that's how I am with almost all fears. I don't like being afraid of something because I don't know it, so I'll look it up. And I actually am a bit of a snake expert because of this, because I've looked up all this information about snakes because I'm trying to get over it, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that I know all this stuff about snakes. I'm still afraid of it. But because Fluttershy is afraid of dragons but knows very little about them, makes it really hard for me to just brush that off.
That's just so incredibly wonderful. I just don't even know what to say.
As a side note, going into what I was talking about physical reactions, I have a story that once my friend and I were in an aquarium and we saw pictures of this animal and we wanted to know whether it was a sea snake or an eel. And we were going about and we see the tank from far away and we go, awesome, we get to figure it out. So as we get closer, I go, it's a sea snake. She's like, well, how can you tell? We're not nearly close enough. And I go, well, because my heart rate just escalated. And sure enough, as we got closer, it was a sea snake. And that's the difference between a phobia and a fear. I can tell via instinct the difference between a legless lizard and a snake, and an eel and a snake. I know by instinct because it is an involuntary physical reaction, and that is the huge difference between a fear and a phobia. So let's get into what I actually came here to talk about, the difference between fear and phobia. And to me, and I'll admit I'm not an expert, but the difference to me is rationality. I'll have a lot of friends that will call themselves quote-unquote arachnophobic. And I can always tell the difference between someone who is truly arachnophobic and someone who is not by their response to the question, why? Why are you afraid of spiders? If they have an answer to this question, then it's not arachnophobia, they're just afraid of spiders. But if they say, I don't know, I just am, then they are truly arachnophobic. If you can come up with a reason why you're afraid of something, then it's not a phobia. You have convinced yourself that it's okay.
Enormous, teeth-gnashing, sharp-scale-having, horn-wearing, smoke-snoring, could-eat-a-pony in one bite, totally all grown-up dragon.
She's probably afraid of her own shadow because she watched too much Doctor Who. I bet she got good at the stare because she was too afraid of the statues all around her. So basically, because she doesn't seem to have a problem with Spike, because she doesn't know much about dragons, and because she's able to rationalize away why she's afraid of dragons, are all the reasons that, to me, indicate that this is her choice. She chose to be afraid of dragons because she convinced herself that that was okay. And because of this is not a true phobia, she can get over it if she actually tries. So what do you think, fear or phobia? Let me know in the comments, and I will see you later. Brony on, my friends.
Far over the misty mountains rise, leave us standing upon the height. What was before, we see once more, is our kingdom.
Let's keep it down. According to my map, we're entering an avalanche zone. The smallest peep could cause a huge rock slide.
Okay, this whole scene annoys me. Living near the LA hills, I know there's a huge difference between an avalanche and a landslide. An avalanche is a cascading of snow. A landslide is a cascading of rock and earth. You mean a landslide, but you use the term avalanche several times, and it really annoys the hell out of me.
So, what is the best way to wake up a sleeping dragon without upsetting him?
Just don't tickle him. Now, it's kind of interesting how their dragon looks more like Smog than the Smog from the Peter Jackson movie does. Sorry, it was a good movie. It was just a bad adaptation of my favorite book.